Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. My name is Laney Shaughnessy, and in this comeback video, we're going to build a chest of drawers. Alright, so sometimes in small shops you don't have enough room for all the cool tools and things like that, or even room for necessary items. And for me, one of the most necessary items in all workshops is a workbench of some kind, an assembly table, something. I don't have one yet, and I'm hoping to be building one here in a future video, but currently right now my table saw is my multi-surface surface. It's for assembly, for glue ups, for cutting things down, and it is my workbench, if you will. It's not the best way to go or the most ideal, but it's what we've got to work with. Now I've got the project boards cut down to rough sizes right now for this project. We're going to build our chest of drawers. We're building 2 cabinets. They're going to be 4 drawers in each cabinet. And the side panels, we still need to glue these panels up and then cut them down to their final size. The drawer fronts, there's going to be 8 of them. They have to get cut down to their final size. And then our drawer boxes. So we've got our sides and our front and back of our drawer boxes. We're going to be assembling them with pocket hole joinery and glue, but we need to first get them cut down to final size. Everything right now is cut down to a rough size to make it a little bit more manageable for me. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start getting things cut down to their final size, as well as start our glue up on our panels. All right, so I pretty much got all of the parts cut down. I've still got to cut the parts down for the face frame of the cabinets. The rails and stiles, we're going to go with inch and a half wide rails and stiles. And I've got the panels for the sides gluing up. So once they're glued up, we'll get them cut down to their final size and get them ready for whatever additional milling I need to do with those. The drawer boxes themselves, the front, back, and sides, I went with a 6 1/4 inch tall drawer. My opening on my face frame for each of the drawer slots is going to be 7 inches tall. So I went with 6 1/4. That'll give me 3/4 of an inch of play, and the drawers are going to be inset. So the drawer fronts are going to be inset into the face frame, so it's nice and flush. And with that, since they're going to be inset, the little strips that I cut earlier to 2.5 inches wide, that's for the drawer slides themselves. These will mount on the inside of the cabinet panels, and they will bring that out flush with the opening of the face frame. So that way when the drawer slide attaches to it, the drawer can open nicely and everything. And I went with the ProMark soft close drawer slides. I think they'll work really well. I was able to get a decent price on a 10-pack off of Amazon, but I like them so far from what I've been testing with them and stuff. But yes, so we had to make 16 of these little runners, if you will, or spacers. Let's call them spacers. And they are 2 inches by 14.5 inches. So we made 16 of those. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut my face frame parts, the rails and stiles, down to their size, and then we'll jump over to the pocket holing. Got a lot of pocket holes to do. On the drawer boxes, I'm going to put pocket holes on the front and back, the sockets themselves, so that way when they're screwing in, they'll screw into the sides and it'll be a nice joint. And as far as the drawer bottoms, I haven't cut those down yet. I'm going to be using plywood for the drawer bottoms, and we'll go from there. So we'll get that done. So let's get the face frame cut down to its final size, and then we'll jump over to the pocket hole jig and start making some pocket holes. Okay, so now all the pocket holing is done. The drawer boxes, fronts and backs are completed. The rails for the face frames are done as well. The only thing left to do is assemble the drawer boxes and the face frames. Then we can take our panels for the sides of the cabinets, get them cut down to their final size, take the panels and the drawer fronts over to the CNC for their carving. I think I'm going to do some kind of raised panel design. While they're carving, I can go ahead and get the drawer bottoms cut down to size and get the drawer boxes completely assembled, and then we're ready for final assembly. All right, it's a new day, so I need to get started on the drawer fronts and the panels. I've got them all glued up, and now I need to take and cut them down to their final size. And then I've got to run the side panels through the drum sander to clean them up a little bit. I'm just going to take just a little bit off and clean them up. Any glue squeeze out and stuff from the glue up and all. The drawer fronts I'd like, because they're going to be recessed into the face frame, I'd like a 1/16 inch of a reveal all the way around. So we need to get them cut down to 19 3/8 by 6 7/8, because my opening is going to be 19.5 by 7. I'd like a 1/16 of an inch all the way around, so I'm going to be deducting an 1/8 inch from each, the top and bottom and the sides. The panels, I'm going to go ahead and cut them down to their finished size. They're going to be 37 inches in tall by 15 inches wide. So we'll go ahead and get those cleaned up, get them cut down, and then we'll take them over to the drum sander. The panels, we'll take them over to the drum sander, get them cleaned up, and then we're going to move over to the CNC and start getting the decorative front carved on the drawer fronts and things. So let's go ahead and get them cut down, and then we'll finish up the rest of the cleanup. Okay, so I'm over here at the CNC. I've got all of the side panels for the cabinets as well as the drawer fronts. I've got them all cut down to size. I ran the panels through the drum sander. Everything came out great. Now they're ready for their milling. We're going to create a kind of a raised panel effect using a combination of 4 bits. You'll see that pop up on your screen here. And each of the drawer fronts are going to have the same similar look as the top of the panels here. But the side panels will have the upper and lower design cut into them, and we're going to use 4 different bits to achieve this. And the bits we're going to be using are a 1/4 inch end mill. We're going to use a 1 inch rope bit. You can see that bit there. We're going to use a 1 inch barley twist bit. There's the profile of that. and we're going to use a 1.5 inch barley twist bit. Now the combination of the 4 bits are going to create that raised panel effect. The top part's going to be a combination of 3 of the bits. We won't use the 1.5 on that, just the lower part. And all the drawer fronts, they're going to look like the upper part, so they'll just use 3 of the bits as well. It's going to take about 20 minutes per panel to carve them out. We'll get those carved, and then I will complete the assembly of the drawer boxes. We'll go ahead and start the assembly of the full cabinets, get the drawer slides in, and get this thing put together. All right, with all the drawer fronts and panels carved on the CNC, we've got a nice profile on the drawer fronts. Nice little profile on the drawer fronts. And then the panel sides of the cabinet. Let's see if we can show you that profile there. And we used a combination of 4 bits to get that. Now, the drawer boxes, I can now focus on these. The fronts and the backs of the drawer boxes got pocket hole screws, and the drawer fronts and backs are going to screw into the sides. So we want the end grain here flush with the front of the box. That way, when the drawer cover comes, we have a nice transition here with no exposed end grain. So we don't want the end grain from the front pieces out here, so we see them from the side. We want a nice clean transition there when that drawer front is on. We also want the pocket hole screws going in at an angle to the sides of the drawers. That's why they're facing outward. They're going to get covered by that front panel. And in the back, you're not going to see anyway. We don't want to come from the inside out, because then we're coming into the end grain here, and that's going to be a weaker joint, right? So we want a nice strong joint to come in here. So I've got to finish putting the pocket holes in this drawer, finish up a couple more drawers, then we can work on the face frame, and then we can start finally to do assembly. Off camera, I'm going to cut the bottoms of the boxes get them down to size and everything, and then I'll show you how we're going to pocket hole those into the bottom of the drawers. So let's go ahead and finish up these pocket holes, and we'll go from there. I've already got one of my clamps on already, and I'm going to go ahead and get the other one put on. So I want it to be nice and flush. Nice. And then we can go ahead and put our pocket hole screws in. Now I'm left-handed. I don't want to be in front of the camera, so we'll just come in at an angle. On your drill, turn your chuck down low so that you're not breaking through this end grain here and everything. So we want our chuck down low so it kind of, that break, okay? Your break, not your chuck. So that way we get a nice tight joint, but we are, and it's easier when I can screw from the front with me being left-handed. All right, let's get this one. There we go. Once that's in, I can go ahead and flip it over. And the same thing, I'll go ahead and get one of the clamps on, then I'll turn it up on its side. These little clamps, these little corner clamps are really nice. I didn't know how they, how they would be. I wish that when you set it on there and you clamp it down, it would just automatically align the corners, but you got to make sure that you're aligned and everything. So, not bad though. Not bad. All right. So we'll go ahead and get our center screw in first. And again, turn that chuck down low, that brake. You have one in your drill, that way it'll stop you from plowing all the way through. All right, and so that completes the assembly of the drawer. I've got a couple more to do, and then we're going to focus on the face frame, get it assembled as well. The cabinet is ready to assemble. I've got the panels cut, the drawer fronts cut, the drawer boxes are going together, the face frame's going in. Everything is ready to assemble, and I'm going to do the assembly, and then I'll take the drawers out to do the painting and stuff of the cabinets, the white cabinets. That way we can get the assembly started so we can actually see this thing getting built, and then we'll focus on the cherry accents, the desk and the tops and the trim and stuff. But let's get the drawer completely finished with the bottom in here. We'll move a little closer and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing to pocket hole and secure the bottom into the drawer. All right, so pretty straightforward. My drawer boxes are 6 1/4 inches tall. My plywood is 15/32, or commonly known as 1/2 inch, but it's 15/32. So I've cut 4 spacers that are 5 13/16 wide. And so that way I can set these spacers in here, and I can take my drawer bottom and get it sit in here. And with it sitting on those spacers, it is perfectly flush. So then I can go ahead and take my pocket screws and just screw them in all the way around. All right, so with that, that makes our drawer bottoms nice and flush, and we've got ourselves a drawer bottom, and we're good to go. So the spacers really help with that that final assembly, and making sure that we get a nice flush bottom here. Okay, cool. And what I've got is I've got the face frame here all assembled and ready to go. I've got the side panels kind of secured so they're upright, and I've got them hanging off the front of the table here so I can get some clamps on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the face frame to the side panels. I thought about, you know, what ways do I want to attach this, and you know, I was thinking about maybe putting pocket holes on the inside of the side panels, you know, so they screw up into the face frame. But I didn't want those kind of exposed. I know I could have plugged them and things like that, but I didn't want those exposed on the inside if for some reason you could see them, right, with the drawers and stuff in, which I doubt you could. So what I'm going to do is what I'm used to doing with my cabinets. I'm going to glue the face frame on. I'm going to use little brad nails here, and I'm going to put a few in here. I'll cut the heads off, snip the heads off, and they'll act like little pedestals for the face frame to sit on while I get it into position. Once I have it positioned, then I'm going to clamp everything together, and that will pull this brad nail into that face frame, you know, just to keep things aligned. All right, so it's done. It isn't pretty, but it's done. The brad nails worked exactly as I needed them to hold the face frame off of the side panel and the glue until I could get everything aligned. And then I started from the center and worked my way out. I didn't use the corner clamps because these don't do alignment. They just kind of make sure things are 90 degrees or whatever the case may be. I'm not sure, you know, what good they are because they don't pull anything into flush or any of that stuff. The little bit of glue squeezed out, I put some tape on the edge, so I should be able to peel that off and clean it up pretty well. I got everything nice and flush. I did have to do a little bit of forcing with a clamp here to kind of pull things into alignment just right in this area here. But all in all, it worked out very well. Once this sets up and dries for a bit, I'm going to turn everything 180 degrees, rinse and repeat to get the other side done, and then the second cabinet, same process. Once I get both sides attached, the face frame to attach to both sides of this, then we can get it upright. We can get our spacers in there for our drawer slides. Then we can get our drawer boxes in and move this thing along. I'm so happy for that because I want to be able to focus on the cherry accents, the trim tops, and the desk. The painting of the cabinet, And I'm looking forward to the finished project. And I'm really looking forward to the next project where I make an assembly table that I can work with. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I'm going to get an assembly table because whew, that's tough to work around. All right, so let's move on to the next part. All right, so I've got the face frame glued to the side panels, and I've got everything sanded and cleaned up, knocked off some of the sharp edges and everything. Now I'm ready to prepare to insert the drawer boxes and the drawer slides and everything. Because the face of the drawer front here is going to be flush with the face frame has an overhang from the side panel of 3/4 of an inch. And in order for me to get the drawer slides on properly so that they open up and they're not recessed back here, I have to add some spacers. And I've got some 3/4 inch spacers that I've cut to 2 inches wide and 14.5 inches long. That's going to leave me a 1/2 inch on the back for my back panel to connect to and everything. But these spacers need to be placed and mounted in here, and then the drawer slides will get screwed to that. Now on the side panels, I've got this decorative profile here, and what's very important is there are some low areas in this profile, so where the material's thinner, and I want to make sure that when I'm screwing in these spacers here that I'm not screwing through and going to blow out in these low areas and everything in the panel. So I've taken the time and I've marked out exactly where the high areas are, and I'm going to be inserting 3 screws into each of these spacers, and they're going to land in the thicker parts of these panels so I don't have the screws blowing out to the sides. Now I've also taken the time to lay out one of the drawer slides, and I made sure that where my screws are for the spacers, that they're not in the way of where I'm going to be screwing the drawer slide in. Okay, so the one thing that I did do with these spacers is on the edge of each one of them, at the leading edge, I made a little chamfer here. And what that's for is just in case on this inside corner from the face frame to the panel, in case there's a little bit of squeeze out or glue squeeze out that I didn't quite get to, I tried to clean it up as much as possible. I didn't want anything hindering that spacer from being nice and flush up against that face frame, you know. And so I made this little kind of relief area. Probably wasn't necessary, but I think it was. Now, the thing that I need to do is I need to make sure that these spacers are straight across, you know, 90 degrees and everything, and that they are even, because the drawer slides are going to be screwed on here, so it's very important that they're squared up. And also I need to make sure that they're placed in the box at the appropriate position. Let's take a look at the design so you can get a visual of what I'm referring to. Okay, so here is a mock-up of the desk and everything, and I've got the drawer fronts cleared out over here so that we can take a look at these spacers. Now, starting at the bottom of the cabinet, coming up from the bottom of the cabinet to the bottom of the first spacer, it's 4 5/8 inches. And then from the top of each spacer to the bottom of the next one, it's going to be 6 1/2 inches. So, and it's going to be 6 1/2 inches for the remaining 3. It's just the bottom one is 4 5/8. So what I've done is I have created some spacer blocks that I can set into the cabinet, and I can take the spacers and lay them out exactly where they need to go and then screw them in. Once that one is screwed in, I have my 6 1/2 inch spacers here that I can set on top of that, and then I can put in my next spacer and I'm going to work my way up all the way up. That way they'll be spaced exactly where they need to go. Now I took some extra time and everything to make sure that these little spacer blocks were absolutely trued up and square, 90 degrees, because I don't want them to be basically kind of like a jig for myself, and I don't want them to be out of square where when I'm actually screwing this part in, I'm screwing it in crooked. So it's important that these little things, you know, we take our time with it. Just like taking the time to pre-drill these holes where the screws are going to go, making sure that they go into the thicker parts of the panel and they don't blow out. Now, to make sure that I have my spacers in and I get my part into place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp this here and on the back just to make sure that it doesn't come out or move or anything when I'm putting in the screws. I just want something just to kind of hold it there as an extra set of hands for me. So I've got a couple of clamps ready and I'm just going to work my way up. Okay? Okay, with the clamps on, we're ready to go ahead and screw the first spacer in place. I'm using number 8 by 1 1/4 inch screws. I've got my brake turned down so that I don't over torque it, and we'll go ahead and get these in. Okay, so this side's complete, very quick and easy. Having these spacer blocks really helped get everything positioned exactly where it needs to go. Make sure that those drawer slide spacers are nice and straight. These were very helpful. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They're going to do the same thing for me on the other side. We'll knock out the other side. We'll get the drawer slides in, and then we'll get the drawer boxes in. Okay, let's move on. All right, so with the drawer slide spacers installed, now it's time to install the drawer slides. Just like we did earlier, we used blocks to sit in here to space each of these drawer slide spacers evenly. Well, now we need to do the same thing for our drawer slides. Now the drawer slides that I'm using, they are exactly 1 3/4 inches thick, or wide should I say, 1 3/4 inches wide. So my spacers here are 2 inches wide. So that's going to leave me an 1/8 inch above the drawer slide and an 1/8 inch below. So my spacer blocks that I used earlier to get these runners in, they were, the bottom ones was 4 5/8. And since the drawer slide is going to be centered on those runners, and I have that 1/8 of an inch to count for, I've got new spacer blocks here, and these are 4 3/4. So what this will allow me to do is, for the lower ones, it'll allow me to set these in place, and then I can set my drawer slide on here, get it positioned, and screw it in. And if you recall, from the top of this spacer block that I installed to the bottom of this one, it was 6 1/2. So I need to account for that 1/8 of an inch down here plus the 1/8 of an inch up here, so we're going to add 1/4 of an inch to that, and so I've got spacer blocks that are 6 3/4 now. These will be able to sit on top of the drawer slides, and my next drawer slide will be able to go in and be perfectly centered on this runner, and then I can move my way up just like I did when I was installing these here. So let's start off with getting the lower drawer slide on, and then we'll work our way up. Now for the drawer slide, since my drawer fronts are going to be recessed in, my drawer slide really needs to just come even with the back of the face frame. And so if I align myself evenly here, I can go ahead and get that installed, and then I can stack my 6 3/4 inch spacers on top of that drawer slide to install the next one and just work up. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, on the back of the drawer slides, we have some fixed holes, but we also have these kind of slotted areas here where we can put in a screw, and this will allow a little bit of flex and play. If there's any deviation, it'll allow the drawer to, you know, move a little bit so it closes nicely and all. So I want to make sure that I get into these tabbed areas, and then on the back I'll probably use these two fixed holes as well. That way I make sure the drawer slides secure. So let's go ahead and get the drawer slides installed. We'll open it up. We'll get it set into place. Now I'm going to be using number 6 by 5/8 inch wood screws, and let's get our spacers in there. Let's get into position, and then we'll go ahead and get everything secured in. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? So very easy to get those aligned and in the proper position with our little spacer blocks. We're going to repeat those steps for the other side, get the other drawer slides in, and then we're going to get our drawer boxes in, and I'll show you how I do the spacing for them. Okay, so I've got the lower drawer box in place. Now, for the drawer box, for its positioning, from the bottom of each drawer box, 2 7/16 inches up, I've got a line drawn here. And that's my center line. So the screw holes inside of the drawer slides, I want to make sure I can see that line in the center of the holes. So I've got a 3-inch rail at the bottom of the face frame here, and I've got another 3-inch piece on the back side so that the drawer is level in there. And sitting on top of these 3 16-inch spacers, that's the spacer I need to give me that center line in the center of my holes. So once I've got that pencil line in the center of the holes here, all the way down, I can go ahead and get my first screws in, pull the drawer out, and get my next screws in all the way down. So to help me align my screws and everything, I'm going to use an awl with a point on it. Let's see if we can get that to focus. And that's going to help me kind of create like a little bit of a pilot hole to make sure I get those screws perfectly centered in. Now I have a choice of using a fixed hole or a slotted hole in case I need to make any adjustments and all. I think I'm going to go ahead for the first hole. I'm going to make sure that I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the fixed hole, and then we'll go with the slotted holes as we go back. Now, to make sure that my front of my drawer slide is positioned properly, I can either take a block, a little spacer block, and just put it up against the front here, and then I just want that drawer slide up against that block. Okay, so if I'm back or anything like that, you know, I want to bring this up to where it's resting on the back of that, and that's where I want my first hole. So once I have those first screws set into place, I can go ahead and continue to slide my drawer out until I get to the next holes. Once I have the screws in, I can go ahead and line up the drawer. Push it all the way in, and now we've got our drawer. So, cool beans. Okay, so now that the bottom drawer is in place and working like a champ, it's ready for its drawer front. But before we do the drawer fronts, we need to get the other 3 drawers in. Now, since I know that the distance from the bottom of each drawer, 2 7/16 of an inch up, that is going to be the center line for my screw holes, I can go ahead and mark each of the remaining 3 drawers. I can then use this drawer kind of as a spacer, and what I can do is, with this drawer somewhat open, I can cut a spacer down that I will put one on each side. The drawer will sit on there, and then I'm going to use still my 3/16 of an inch spacers, because I want to be 3/16 of an inch up above the top of each of these rails. So I'll get my measurements, cut down my spacer blocks for whatever size they need to be for each drawer. They're all going to be the same. I can use the same spacer blocks and everything for that. And I'll let you know what that measurement is once I get it all measured and made. We'll knock out the other 3 drawers, and then we'll start to install the drawer fronts, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, so with the second drawer in place, I've got my center line laid out exactly where I need it. I've got my 3/16 inch spacers sitting on top of my next rail, and I needed to know what measurement that was for the back of the drawer, so it would be sitting straight and everything to give me that nice straight center line. And that measurement was 2 1/16. So I made a spacer 2 1/16 inches thick, and I've got it sitting on the back of the lower drawer. I've got my runners running across front to back on both sides, and with that, all I have to do is make sure that my drawer slides are flush with the front of this, and I've got my center line. I can go ahead and get my screws in and just work my way up now that I have that spacer. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so for the drawer front, I have 6 shims that are 1/16 of an inch thick. I have them spaced, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and 1 on each side. This will give me my 1/16 of an inch reveal all the way around to make sure that that drawer front is centered in the opening that I've created. Now, I've already got the center holes drilled for the knobs, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily attach the drawer front to the drawer. I'm going to be using an 1¼ inch kind of a Craig screw. That nice flat round head on there will keep my drawer front from blowing out or anything, or me countersinking in or anything like that. What I want to make sure of is that I am nicely centered in that hole, and I want to temporarily attach that drawer front to that drawer. Now I can pop the drawer out, and because I'm only using 1 screw here, it still has the tendency to tip. And so if you have a back already on your cabinet, then when you're pulling this out, you want to be very careful that you don't twist it at all before you get it attached and everything. Now, fortunately, I haven't gotten the back on to this cabinet yet, so I can actually come in from behind to secure this if I am concerned about this drawer, you know, pivoting or anything, or changing its, you know, position. And so I can just pop the drawer out, and I'm just going to put 2 screws in the back, 1 on each side. Again, if I'm worried about this pivoting or anything, then I, you know, will have to figure out another way to attack it. But this is actually pretty secure. It's not pivoting at all. So that 1 screw in there is holding it just fine. So all I have to do is come in, and I'm going to use some 1¼ inch wood screws, and I'm just going to secure it from the back side. Alright, with that secured, I can go ahead and take out this Kreg screw from the center. Okay, so once I remove the Kreg screw, then this one's ready for its hardware. Now I'll put the second drawer in and rinse and repeat all the way up. Okay, so with the drawer fronts on, the only thing left to do is do a little bit of cleanup and make some minor adjustments. So I have one drawer slide that's just sitting a little bit proud, so the drawer face is not flush with the surface. What that means is on my drawer slides I need to just shift them back just a little bit, and I did put the screws in the oblong holes, so I just have to loosen them up and bring them back just a little bit, and that's going to pull this drawer front nice and flush with this face. So we'll make that adjustment. We'll go ahead and get everything cleaned up and sanded, ready for finish. But for this first part of the video on this build, this is going to wrap it up, and when we come back in the next video, we're going to finish up this project. We'll have both cabinets ready to go. We'll get the paint and finish on them. We'll get our cherry accents built, our desk glued up and cut down to size, our top as well as our trim, and we'll wrap up the project in the second part of this video. I don't want the video links to be too long, and I'm not sure exactly how long I'm running right now, but I'm going to go ahead and end this here, and we'll wrap everything up in the next video. So I hope you enjoyed this build so far. I'm really enjoying being back in the shop and making things again and making things for you. So it's been fun for me. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think. The one thing I know that I need to work on is the video quality, the lighting, and sound and everything. I just need to kind of tighten things up. It's my first video back after a while, and I see already some of the things that I do need to work on and improve for you guys and girls, so it's an enjoyable visual experience for you. And getting the lighting right, getting the right space and everything, that's going to be important to me. So stick with me. It'll get better as we go. We'll finish everything up in the next video, but I really appreciate you watching this all the way through. Give a thumbs up if you like it. If you haven't subscribed and this is your kind of first time watching one of my videos and you happen to come across this one, hit that subscribe button, and be sure to share the video. I appreciate it. It helps out a lot. We'll see you in the next one.